No one's the boss of me. You can't tell me what to do. Just leave me alone. I can do it myself. These statements are common. We all heard them. We've likely said some of them. Why are they common? I think because when it comes down to it, none of us wants to be controlled. We all have different temperaments. Some of us are more likely to go with the flow, and others instinctively question those in charge. But none of us really wants to be controlled. Now, think about the people in your life who get to tell you what to do. Who are they? Parents, teachers, government, police officers, coaches, to name a few. And of course, God gets to tell you what to do. Does God have anything to say about people who are in authority? Are their directions, instructions, and commands legitimate? Now, have you started to feel the urge to push back? And add to that the tension that comes when your authority figures do not agree. Do your parents always agree with your teachers? Do your teachers always agree with the government? Obviously not. Now, what do we do when this happens? The answer isn't simple or neat. Some of you are already driving, and some are waiting for the opportunity to get behind the wheel. Have you ever driven with both of your parents in the car? I wouldn't recommend it. I can't tell you how many times, with my dad riding shotgun and my mom behind me, I would get different instructions at the exact same time. You'll want to exit here. Stay straight for the next couple of miles. Driving 55 miles per hour on the Beltway didn't give me a lot of time to make a decision. As a new driver, I had two parents tell me what to do, plus I had a myriad of traffic laws and safe driving practices to remember. Once, I actually pulled off on the shoulder and asked them to agree on the directions and decide which one of them would be telling me where to turn. Sounds frustrating, right? Now, let's try to lay this out. I'm a child of God. This also means that I am part of the body of Christ. Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. So, since my king is Jesus and I am part of a kingdom not of this world, am I expected to submit to the various authorities of the world? The answer is yes. And no. Ultimately, we are only responsible to obey God. So does that mean no? Well, here's the rub. God commands us to obey our authorities. This is how I explained it in a message I preached some years ago. Because we are not citizens of this world, I have no obligation to the authorities of this world. However, since my authority, who is the ultimate authority, commands me to posture myself before the governing authorities with honor, respect, and submission, then I am obligated more than all others to the governing authorities. You might say, yeah, well, what about, or how about when? Take a moment and think about those questions. Do you ever try to negotiate your way out of obeying your parents? I know my brother and I did this a lot as teens. We wanted to find any loophole that made it so we could justify doing what we wanted instead of what we were asked. And don't think that adults have outgrown this. We just got better at justifying our disobedience. Yes, there are many issues to factor in, but what is our starting point? If we start by looking for loopholes, our starting point is not honoring God, but our own preferences. God tells us to be obedient to every authority. Every means we can't pick and choose who to obey based on what we like or our opinion of their worthiness. Once we have determined this, then we can consider, are there justice issues I need to address? Is what I'm being told to do in conflict with what God has clearly commanded? In a nutshell, unless an authority is commanding you to disobey God or forbidding your obedience to God, then like it or not, you are commanded to obey. not because of your allegiance to that authority, but because of your allegiance to God. Do authorities ever abuse their power? We can certainly see this all throughout history. And while legal systems may bring justice, ultimately God will hold them to account. So what do? We trust God and publicly display the character of Christ, about who Paul wrote, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look not to his own interests, but rather to the interests of others." Adopt the same attitude as that of Jesus Christ, who, existing in the form of God, did not consider equality with God as something to be exploited. Instead, he emptied himself by assuming the form of a servant, taking on the likeness of humanity, and when he had come as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even to death on a cross. The trajectory of our culture seems to be moving us towards the idea that we can simply decide which authorities we feel like obeying, and like many cultural trends, those who claim to follow Jesus are not immune. I guarantee that you will not work all this out today. But maybe you will be able to talk about what it means for you to obey God when responding to authority.